What's happening guys, welcome to the Rebel Workshop. Today's video I'm going to show you how I put together my blaster display rack. Now when I first put the room together, I built the shelves behind me as a display for putting props and blasters on, but it occurred to me quite rapidly I was going to run out of room because of the blasters. Now one day at work, the gift shop was throwing out a display stand and I saw it. And the first thing that popped in my head was display rack. So I'm going to show you how I did it. So let's do this. So this is how it looked originally. Now as you can see, it's got holes in it for metal hooks to display any kind of merchandise. It actually has a spinning base as well, so it turns round easily if I wanted to. It did have some damage to it, that's why it was being thrown away. Oh yeah, there's my wee helper, Jabba, our old time bulldog. He was sitting there in the huff because I wasn't paying attention to him. Look at that face. Dad, play with me. Anyway, so as I said, it did have some damage to it, it's had some holes in it, but it didn't bother me too much because I was going to cover these up. So the first thing I did was come up with a design sketch. Now I looked at the Death Star wall panels to try and get some inspiration. I didn't want to copy them directly, I wanted it to be influenced by them, so that's what I did. And I came up with a couple of sketches. The first one I didn't really like, to be honest with you, so I went with the second one. It was more of a panelled look, just like the Death Star wall panels. And I wrote down some different dimensions so I knew exactly what I was going to be doing. Yeah, and I just went from there. So the first thing I did was take it apart. Now I had been in the gift shop for a while, so it was a wee bit dirty once I took it apart, as you can see. But a wee wiped down with cleaner and it came up fine. Now for the panel details and the squares on top and the bits on the side, I used some Sintra, Foamex, PVC foam board, whatever you want to call it. Stuff is great for cutting and adding on to things like this. So I used two different thicknesses of it to give it a bit of a layered look, and I copied the design onto both sides and I was really happy how it looked. I did find some greeblies to add on as well, and I was just placing them on here just to see how they would look. These would be put on after I painted, so they didn't get painted themselves. Also came up with a design for the outside edging. I just did a wee simple design in Illustrator, printed it out, transferred it onto the material, then cut it out using a step drill and a knife. Then I glued everything on. So I started with the edging, just some super glue, CA glue just to glue these on, then the main panels on the front and back. Once these were glued on, I also added on some faux screw holes just using a round tool, and it just presses into it and leaves a mark. Also did some panel lines as well. And the next step was just to give it a coat of primer once everything was glued down. Turned out great, covered it pretty well, and it looks good just like that. So I do have to apologise, I didn't take any pictures of the next steps. When I did this originally, I was only posting pictures on Facebook, I wasn't doing videos or planning on doing any videos. And I just got a wee bit lazy, to be honest. But what I did next was gave it a coat of silver paint. Then I used some masking fluid to do a chipping technique that I love doing. This was actually the first project I actually did the chipping technique on. Then I gave it a coat of a dark grey with some speckling of black through it as well. Once that was all dry, I peeled away the masking fluid to reveal the silver paint underneath. Again guys, I'm so sorry, I will continue now. So here's how the chipping turned out. It looked really good, I was really happy with it. As I said, it was the first time I've ever done that, and I think it looked pretty good. You can see the speckling of the black in this wee bit as well. It just gives an extra layer of texture to the paint. You can kind of see the full screw hole buttons as well. So the next step, I painted a red line and the rebel symbol. I did this with masking tape and a stencil and some more masking fluid to give an uneven line, give a worn look. Again, I was really happy how that turned out. Now I could just leave it like this. It looks great as it is, but it should be dirty. It's from Star Wars. So I gave it a black acrylic wash. I gave it several layers, letting it to dry in between, wiping stuff off. You can see how much paper towels I went through. But it just made it look even better than it did before. Now again, I was really happy how this turned out. Probably the biggest thing I've ever weathered. It probably will be the biggest thing I've ever weathered. But I was really happy with it. It definitely wouldn't look out of place in a Rebel base somewhere. Even the edges turned out great. So extra little details on the sides. So next it was time to mount some of the blasters. All I did was buy some rifle hooks that are designed to go on the walls to hold rifles, and I used them to hold the blasters. Now it was pretty dark, especially at night, and it was really hard to see. These pictures were taken with a light. So I decided to add something else. Now I had this old Ikea light, and it was a picture frame light. It went above the pictures, and it fitted over the top of the display stand. Did need a couple of spacers, but with that on, it just brightened it up, as you can see. Now with this I did paint it the same colour as the stand itself, but instead of using primer, I just painted the paint straight on to the aluminium. That way I could just scrape it off and create the same chip paint technique, and it goes really well with the actual stand. So here it is in all its glory. It's turned out brilliantly. I now have space off the shelves to put blasters on. There's a wee gap here. That'll be for a future project. Yeah. As I said, I'm really happy how this turned out. This is one of the first big things I did for the room, and it just adds that Star Wars feel to the room. It looks like something it could be out of a Rebel base or something. And the good thing is, it does spin, and there's loads of room on the other side for more blasters. All that space. So there you go guys, I hope I've inspired you to go out and make your own blaster rack. Go out into the world, grab things that have been thrown away, recycle them, repurpose them, make them into something useful like what I did. So guys, I just want to thank you for watching, I really do appreciate it. Remember to subscribe, like and hit that notification button, and I'll see you next time on the Rebel Workshop.